Why do so many women claim gaslighting or narcissism in their ex these days? I remember a girl told me once I was gaslighting her because I showed screenshots of the conversation in question. Then she's gaslighting you. This is something most people don't understand. Accusing someone of gaslighting is gaslighting them. Just because someone doesn't agree with something you said, it doesn't mean it's gaslighting. Leave these labels to the professionals. Accusing someone of gaslighting isn't inherently gaslighting. Gaslighting is a specific form of manipulation where one person tries to make another doubt their own reality, memories, or perceptions. It's a deliberate act to gain power over someone or to deflect accountability. However, accusations of gaslighting can become complicated. If someone falsely accuses another of gaslighting without basis, especially if it's to undermine the other person's genuine concerns or to manipulate a situation, it could potentially be seen as a form of psychological manipulation or gaslighting itself. This would be the case if the accuser is trying to make the accused doubt their own intentions or actions without cause. You're gaslighting us. It's the same thing as dudes calling their exes crazy. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I tend to try and listen to why they thought this more so than the accusation itself. My ex-wife, after dumping me for another guy, doesn't see the children anymore, and when she visits the kids, she constantly asks my family members about me. What am I up to? Who am I dating? etc, etc. If I'm not around and she comes over to my place, she goes through everything in my house, up and down like some detective. Who does that? You reckon she's crazy or what? I had to go back to court and have it specifically put in our decree that my ex had curbside pickup. She would try and physically force herself into my home. One of the best things I ever did. Domino's curbside pickup lol. I would guess maybe 25% of people use the term gaslighting correctly. 1. Because plenty of men are gaslighting narcissists. 2. Because plenty of women are gaslighting narcissists and are projecting. I feel like this should have more upvotes lol. My ex would often misinterpret things I said, or would talk over me and not hear me. Ironically, usually this would result in her assuming I said something, filling in the gaps with her imagination or assumptions that I had not. I would then repeat, calmly, what I had just said, hoping for her to understand what I meant to say. She would then stick to her assumption of what I said, not actually acknowledging what I actually said. When I would try to clear up the confusion, she would accuse me of gaslighting her by changing what I said, when in fact, I was literally repeating the same phrase as before, verbatim. This is one example of misuse of the word gaslighting. In reality, the problem was that she simply wasn't listening to what I was saying and treating her assumptions as facts, then failing to adjust when her assumptions proved to be false. This is called her being crazy. You weren't gaslighting. She was actually just crazy. My daughter used to do this. You don't have to date a lot of people to run into one psycho. Isn't it almost a universal thing that just about everyone has had at least that one ex that was a disaster, right? Honestly, I'm kind of shocked that only 50% of the women he's dated have had a narcissistic or gaslighting ex. Amongst my friends, that number is near 100%. Now if a woman says all her exes are gaslighting narcissists, it's like when a guy says all his exes are crazy. She's the common denominator, and therefore likely the problem. The vast majority of my exes are great guys I'm still on good terms with, but one of them is a legit sociopath. They are difficult to avoid /view 200D. It's true. I guess I'm lucky I never dated a gaslighting narcissistic guy. Only a lying guy making himself out to be the victim every time. If I caught his lie, but he'll manipulate me into staying with him until I finally had enough. Wait, is that gaslighting? Lol. My husband had one girlfriend before me, and she was definitely crazy. Saw it firsthand unfortunately. He won't call her crazy because he's a nice guy, but that doesn't change the fact. Serious edit, that ex was not gaslighting, just a manipulative asshole. No, that isn't gaslighting. Manipulating you to do what they want is not gaslighting. Manipulating you into thinking that you are literally insane is gaslighting. This is why people are criticizing the use of the term gaslighting. It is used a lot and almost never correctly. Buzzwords from TikTok. The words seem larger than mere buzzwords, or at least more long-lived. They've forgotten the term disagreement. People have been empowered to believe their perspective is their truth, and thus anyone with a different perspective is undermining reality. This goes far beyond the realm of relationships to society at large, where things like lived experience replace a kind of universal reality. We are also losing all sense of scale. What's more likely? Your partner having a behavioral/neurological disorder, or your partner just being an immature selfish dick? In my experience, the word selfish has almost completely disappeared from discourse about relationships, because it easily describes actions, but lacks the just to explain why a person might be pursuing those actions. Have you asked any of your friends who are women about this? I spent more of my life than I care to admit underestimating women's experiences, until I realized I just wasn't the kind of person to have good enough friends, women or otherwise, GBH, to confide that kind of thing in me. This comment should be higher up. I'll give you a personal example. I'm a pretty confident person and I don't go around blaming stuff on men/anti-feminism/patriarchy/whatever. I also work from home and don't go out much. But today I took public transport in the evening. A man on the train became interested in me, tried to talk to me, followed me, got on and off platforms as I did, tried to sit next to me, moved cars to be near me, and finally I had to yell at him in the presence of other passengers and then get security because he wouldn't leave me alone. It's insane the level of bullshit women have to put up with. I feel like I cannot even leave my house safely for a few hours once a month without being harassed. And I know that men have struggles. I really do understand that. I think the big difference as a woman is that I'm usually smaller than the person, so there is this weird element of physical intimidation that men don't experience. Men might have to deal with crazy girlfriends, but women have to deal with crazy random strangers. Easier than introspection and personal growth. Thank you for saying this too, man. Some of you guys are hitting the nail on the head with how I think and feel about my ex-wife I still have to deal with. I don't feel like I'm crazy and making s up. Is it hard to believe though? Dating women is equally as bad. Also, the worst people will be the most visible, since they can never be in a relationship for long. I know everybody is saying it's a coping mechanism in the comments, and I agree to an extent, but I think the number of people out there, male and female, that are toxic in relationships, or that are okay at first, but become toxic towards the end of the relationship, shouldn't be underestimated. Lots of broken souls out there these times. I'd say the reason you hear more women say it is that men are probably less likely to open up easily, and I suppose you only date women and talk about this with women. Of course, it's also a coping mechanism. Nobody wants to be a bad person, and accepting your own toxicity can be hard. To cover their own butts, they do it themselves and are completely unaware of it. Women are terrible at self-criticism. Ask a guy what he did wrong in his relationship and he will know. Vice versa. Not so much. Once you see it. #SORRYNOTSORRY. I haven't met a woman yet that took accountability for her part in the relationship failing. It seems you didn't get the internet memo. Women are always right. Men cause 100% of the problems in the world/s. Because people in general, I'm convinced anyway, don't really know what being gaslit means. If they are making you question reality, then it's gaslighting. If they are just mad about something you said, and it doesn't make you question reality, then it isn't. I'm not sure why those two things are hard to understand either. Also, remembering something differently and stating it in good faith doesn't constitute gaslighting. I've remembered things incorrectly before, and I'm happy to admit when it happens. It's extra bad, though, when you're correct about something and get accused of gaslighting. TL. Doctor, men lie to women to get dates going, and the claims of gaslighting or narcissism come from learning who the man really was after genuinely getting to know them. My hypothesis on this is that it is a side effect of how dating goes with our respect to masculine, instigator, and feminine, passive judge, gender roles. Through my 20s I would focus on saying what I thought would impress the women I was interested in before I would put in effort to figure out if I even liked them beyond their looks. And based on tons of comments here in Askmen and the general expectation for men to be the instigator for dating, I'm assuming my experience is similar to a lot of other men's experience. We try to get women to like us before showing them who we really are. With that, women claiming gaslighting or narcissism from exes could be legit. But those terms could also be used because they felt tricked, assumed the man was one way because of what was said or done to impress her initially, but then learned that they were lying. As I've gotten older, I've recognized dating is way too comparable to a game. Men lie to get with women because it works. Not all men are like that, and in my 30s I've been putting in work to grow out of that bad habit. Because while it works to get laid, it also prevents the formation of a healthy relationship. Is it surprising that 50% of the women you've dated have gone out with a narcissist or been gaslit? Not really. There's a lot of assholes out there. Threads like these in Askmen really bother me. Nowhere is there a comment where we consider, even for a second, that these women's experience is valid and maybe, just maybe, there's something that we are doing to cause it. No, surely. They are too stupid and infantilized by social media to know what they've been through. Surely, according to most of the comments on this thread, surely it's they who are wrong and stupid and crazy. Women don't know what they are talking about. It's all social media pseudo-psychology and bullshit. Couldn't be us. We are awesome. And watch me get downvoted to hell for pointing out the ironic truth. Really, I think it's about half and half social media pseudo-psychology hype. Half guys can be real dicks sometimes. Agree. I find it super easy to believe. My dad was an absolute F /////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////// either. My sister and I had all kind of horrid experiences with him. I'll bet you right now he's sitting at home somewhere wondering why nobody, and I mean nobody, wants anything to do with him. Assuming he's even still alive. I will also bet any money at all he has tried to suggest my mother was crazy. On that note, I'll agree with him. She was crazy for not kicking his ass out years before she actually got the nerve to do it. Don't men do this too? No one's the blame. Men call their exes crazy or whatever because it makes them feel better. Now, we usually do it to let friends know which one shouldn't be touched with a 3-meter pole, let alone dated. For their own safety. What makes you think women aren't doing the same thing? Maybe those men are shitty too. A lot of dudes are very weird / different when alone with their women vs when other people are around. It's also a bit of a buzzword these days, so that adds to it. Because short video sites have lots of videos about it. Love how none of these answers are, because it happened to them. Gaslighting never happens. Don't be ridiculous. Yeah. It's just the weapon of women against men. To lie about it / jokes aside, men asking men why women suffer from gaslighting, and men answering men that it's just lies. Ugh. No, it's not a weapon, but it is used commonly with them taking no accountability or self-reflecting. There's a not insignificant number of people with NPD, and even more with narcissistic traits who aren't quite severe enough to be diagnosed with NPD. Not a man, but I work with mostly men. I'm in software engineering. A lot of men claim their ex is a narcissist. I think this is just people of any gender claiming their ex is terrible and using these labels to explain. I do think women are more likely than men to give you their thoughts on their ex in a casual conversation. Though, it is a social taboo, but women do tend to display narcissistic traits for more often than men, because it is not acceptable to call them out on such behaviors. Narcissists tend to excel at business, mostly men, or be of the mindset that I'm the king of my castle. You rarely hear / heard queen for women claiming head of household. Given how much husbands historically held the power in society and even in the nuclear family arrangement, I'm curious how you think that impacts the distribution of narcissism among men and women. The social acceptability you're referring to is fairly recent, if true, and I don't think it is. Many husbands still grouse about their wives expecting help with the kids or the house, which is a fairly narcissistic mindset that one should never be emasculated by such expectations. They are none too bright and use words out of context because they saw them online, but don't understand what they mean. No, Doris. Someone disagreeing with you isn't gaslighting. Lol, it's the Twitter/social media bullshit. It's basically people that are supposedly oppressed or just don't agree with your views/perspective/opinion/politics calling you something/claiming something about you they have learned can get one cancelled and or you to just stf out of being worried you will be fired from your job/banned from a Reddit sub/socially destroyed/darksked etc. It isn't just this particular issue. It's the use of boomer, cringe, fascist, racist, sexist/misogynist, blah blah blah. I see it all the time. And the people that do it can kiss my ass. That way they don't have to take accountability for their actions. Literally every woman I have met since my divorce has claimed every ex is a narcissistic controlling abuser. Now if I hear that, I just pull away.